For Sketchbook Assignment 3, you're going to be making value charts with two different mediums. For the charts in this video, I used a straight edge to make everything straight, but you're welcome to just do this freehand as long as they're fairly even. You can also scale yours up if you need a little bit more room to work in. For the first chart, I'm using graphite with a variety of different pencil weights. So pencils are lighter or darker according to how hard or soft they are. Harder lead weights create lighter marks because the material is less crumbly and leaves only a faint line that has a light appearance. And then softer lead weights leave a darker impression because it's easier for the material to spread onto the page. Dark pencils are labeled with a B, light pencils are labeled H, and then HB is right in the middle. So from lightest to darkest, the pencils in your kit are 4H, 2H, HB, 2B, and 6B. There's also a chart in your assignment that lists the pencils that you have from lightest to darkest. To begin with, you want to make sure to remember to leave square one blank. I actually forgot to do this the first time I filmed this and had to go back and erase, so just keep that in mind. Square one is going to be the reference for your lightest light. You can do this in any order that you want to. I'm starting with my lightest and darkest and middle squares, and then filling in the values in between. I'm using my 4H pencil to go in as light as I can on my first square, and then just working to get an even coverage. For the rest of my squares, I'm also choosing my pencils according to their lightness or darkness. So the darkest square, I'm using my 6B pencil, and for the middle square, I'm using HB. Once I get to squares 3 and 5, there starts to be more overlap, and sometimes I'm using two different pencil weights to achieve the value that I need. Once you have all of your squares drawn in, you probably will need to work back and forth between squares to get all of your values where you want them to be. It's almost impossible to get your values perfect on the first shot unless you've done these a million times already. Since value is relative, it's hard to tell how light or dark something is when you're not comparing it to anything else. I would recommend starting off light at first with the graphite and then building things up because it's always easier to add material than it is to take away. For your second chart, you will need your Vine charcoal, blender, and kneaded eraser. Doing this in Vine charcoal is going to be a pretty different process than graphite. You're really going to have to wrangle and manipulate the material to get an even value. So what I'm doing is laying down some Vine charcoal in each square as evenly as possible, and then I use my blender to smooth everything out. Then I come in with my eraser and take material away to try to get closer to the value that I want. Then I repeat this process as many times as I need to, moving from square to square. So for this assignment, take your time and see if you can make each square really feel different than the squares next to it. Having a grasp on the subtle variations between values is what's going to make the forms in your drawing seem really volumetric. These charts are also very helpful references for when you're trying to look at value in your work. So that's it for value squares. Remember to leave square one blank, and good luck.